Okay, so before we start the class, let me introduce myself just in case you don't know who am I. My name is Wai Ling. As you can see from the cover page, that is actually me. This is also actually me. Okay, so we're gonna start the class, which is only for Form 4 Chapter 2. The reason why we only choose Form 4 Chapter 2 is because that Chapter 2 is very, very important for your exam. And this is the foundation of everything. For every exam that you see in your SPM, right, like the Form 4, Form 5, right, every exam will have Chapter 2 in your question. So you need to understand the Form 4 Chapter 2. You need to understand and you have to know the function of it. Chapter 1 usually is only for your first term exam. Chapter 3, because we have no time to do Chapter 3, you can read through by yourself. I also uploaded a few videos of Chapter 3. You can also watch it at the YouTube channel. But if you don't want, you can understand by yourself. Definitely, you can study by yourself. Okay, so let's get started for this one, Chapter 2. Now, first of all, we have to know what is animal cell and plant cell. The differences between animal cell and plant cell is very easy. What is in the plant cell, guys? What is in the plant? What are the things can only be found in plant cell? What are the only thing can be found in plant cell? We have, correct, we have chloroplast, we have cell wall, and also we have large vacuole. Very good. We have cell wall, we have chloroplast, and then the large vacuole, right? But actually, animal cell, they also have vacuole. The vacuole is smaller, but it's numerous in number. Animal cell also got vacuole, just that they are smaller and numerous in number. The vacuole for animal cell is temporarily, not permanent. It's only temporarily. Now, we know the differences between plant cell and animal cell. Is it for young? You can understand that way because after when they are mature, the vacuole will disintegrate. It will degenerate later on. So it's just temporarily for animal cell for vacuole. Plant cell is permanent. Okay, now, besides the shape, besides the three things, what other things can only be found in animal cell? What other things can only be found in animal cell? Correct, the centrioles, very good. Okay, the centrioles is the only thing that can be found in the animal cell, but it's not written here, but it's okay. Centriole is, it can only be found in animal cell, only centrioles. So this is the difference between animal cell and plant cell. And then we look at the next one, which is this part. Whatever things in the cell is very important. They will ask about function, they will ask about labeling as well. Now we have two different things here. We have organelle and also we have non-organelle. We have organelle, and what is the difference between organelle and non-organelle? Organelle is whatever things is in the cell. This is in the cell. Non-organelle is not in the cell. Okay, not in the cell. Non-organelle is not in cell. What does non-organelle mean? What does not in cell mean? First, we have plasma membrane. Plasma membrane is equals to cell membrane. Cell membrane function is to regulate substance moving in and out of the cell, right? So what is in and out of the cell? Plasma membrane is semi-permeable. What is a semi-permeable? Semi-permeable, it means they only allow certain substances to pass through. Certain means what? You have to base on the example. You learn this in detail in chapter 3. Only allow certain things to pass through. You can write selectively permeable. You can write semi-permeable. Partially permeable also can, only certain substances. So the function of semi-permeable is to regulate movement of substances. And the substances, it has to be certain substances. And you need to write certain substances from entering or leaving the cell. This is semi-permeable. Now, cytoplasm is a medium, it's a jelly-like medium, it's an area for them to carry out biochemical reaction. What does biochemical reaction mean? Bio, it means living things, right? Bio, it means living thing. Chemical, it means chemical reaction. So it's a chemical reaction that happens in a living thing. We call this as biochemical reaction. So whatever thing that happens in the cell, it's called biochemical reaction. Cell wall, they are made out of a thing called cellulose. What is the cellulose? Cellulose is not sweet. Not sweet because they are under chapter 4, a thing called polysaccharides. So they are not sweet. So it's a type of sugar that is not sweet. It's a cellulose. And they are permeable to all fluid. They are able to provide support and they are able to maintain the shape of the plant. Why or how can they maintain the shape and provide support to the plant? Because the characteristic of cell wall is tough and rigid. Tough and rigid is the characteristic. So that's why they are able to provide support to the plant to maintain the shape of a cell. These three things are not in the cell. For example, I have a building, the building is a cell wall, and I have a room, the room is plasma membrane. These two things is not within the space. They are just inside, right? So building is the cell wall, the room is a plasma membrane. So the space, we call this as cytoplasm. So the space also not within the area. So what is in the space is the organelle. Because plasma membrane not inside, right? Cytoplasm not inside, right? Cell wall not inside. So this is not in the cell. Whatever in the cell, imagine in a room. What is in a room? We have cupboard, we have wardrobe, we have whatever, table, chairs, Those are things in the cell, right? So what is the thing in the cell? It's known as organelle. These are the things called organelle. They are in the cell. What is a nucleus? Nucleus is the brain of everything. So nucleus is the brain where they will control all cell activity. How do they control all cell activity? By having a thing called DNA. Can you write DNA in an exam? Of course you can. You can just write DNA. Don't need to write deoxyribonucleic acid. In what situation you can write DNA? In what situation you can write short form? Is when this short form is only representing this name, okay? It's only representing this name. It means that DNA, we can only represent deoxyribonucleic acid. So whatever short form that you see in your textbook is the short form that you can write in your exam. But because some first term exam, right, some teachers are very specific over the spelling. So maybe some teacher want you to spell deoxyribonucleic acid in your first term exam. Sometimes lah, but it depends on your teacher lah. Most likely they will accept DNA as answer because it's a correct short form that you can write. Now DNA is the one that carries genetic information, right? The reason why that we have darker hair, we have different color of skin, we have different height, everything here is based on DNA. DNA is the one that causes you to be different than your siblings, but DNA has to be from the parents. So this is DNA. Now we have mitochondrion. Mitochondrion and mitochondria, singular, plural, we don't have to care because in biology, we don't care two things. Number one, we don't care about grammar error. We don't care past tense, present tense. We don't care about grammar, singular, plural, and also past tense, present tense. These are the three things we don't care in biology. So we don't have to care whether you use a present tense or past tense or grammar error. Everything here is not an error as long as your spelling is correct and your sentence has the correct meaning. Mitochondria is like a powerhouse. What is a powerhouse in Malaysia? Malaysia powerhouse is TNB. You all know what is TNB? Tenaga Nasional Berhad. You all know what is that, right? You all know what is TNB, right? So TNB is to generate energy in electrical form, right? Electrical city, they give it electrical form, right? Human, we have mitochondria, but it's not possible for us to generate electricity. If we can generate energy like electricity, right? We are not human, we are Pikachu, guys. Okay, of course we are not Pikachu. So the energy that we are able to produce, we call this as ATP. They will generate energy in the form of ATP. Can you write ATP in an exam? Of course you can, because ATP is a correct short form that you can write. We call this as adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate. How do we want to generate energy? Is by a process called cellular respiration. What does this process mean? Okay, you know when your parents always tell you, right, oh, if you don't eat rice, you got no energy. Have you heard of this before? If you don't eat rice, it means you have no energy. Have you heard of this before? Yes, right. Okay, now why does this sentence or where does this sentence come from? Actually, the rice that we eat is actually glucose, right? So glucose will be oxidized, it means breakdown, to form into energy. So that's why eating rice, we have energy because the process is called cellular respiration. They are able to oxidize glucose, means they will break down glucose to produce into energy. Now this is mitochondria, okay? Mitochondria generate energy. True glucose oxidation, yes, it's oxidation of glucose, correct? It's called cellular respiration. Hence, we only produce energy and a lot of energy when you break down glucose, when you oxidize glucose. So chloroplast can only be found in plants. This one everybody know, right? Do you guys know what is in the chloroplast? Chloroplast contains of what? We have a thing called chlorophyll, correct? Chloroplast contains of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is green in color. So chlorophyll is green in color. But how come some of the plants, they are not green in color? It's actually, it depends on different color pigment of plants. We will learn how come some plants is red color, some plants is different color. We will learn in Form 5, but not every plant is green in color, right? But chlorophyll, they will trap sunlight and convert into chemical energy. Chemical energy, it means they will produce food, which is glucose, through a process called photosynthesis. Now, when we talk about photosynthesis, right? To carry out photosynthesis, what does a plant require? What plants require to carry out photosynthesis? Correct, they need carbon dioxide, very good. And then sunlight, and then water, correct. What else? What do they produce? What do they produce? Oxygen and also glucose, very good. Okay, so if you write it in the equation, you have carbon dioxide with water, and then they will form into glucose and also oxygen. With the presence of what? With the presence of sunlight over here. And then we have chlorophyll. Sunlight and chlorophyll. Carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, chlorophyll, and then they will produce glucose and oxygen. Sunlight is always on top, chlorophyll is at the bottom. Just remember, sun is always above you, so sunlight has to be on top. So carbon dioxide plus water, they will form into glucose and oxygen. So We call this as a photosynthesis. Now, what is the similarity between nucleus, mitochondria, and chloroplast? These three things, it contains of double membrane. Double membrane, double membrane, double membrane. Double membrane means what? It means they have two membranes. Sometimes, you know, your school teacher, right, they didn't give you the Google image. They give you a drawing diagram. If it's a drawing diagram, then it will look something like that. This one, 2D diagram, right? Okay, this is how a mitochondrion looks like if they draw for you to see. If it's a chloroplast, then it looks something like that. Double membrane, and then they look like that, like a Baymax eye. This is double membrane. So we have one layer here, two layer, right? First layer, second layer. That's why we call this as double membrane. We can only write one similarity as double membrane. No any other answer if they ask about similarity. Your answer can only be double membrane. Mitochondria, chloroplast, both of them have double membrane. Okay, so this is how we differentiate mitochondria and chloroplast. If you see inside is like cloud. Okay, the reason why they look like a cloud, right? But the reason why they are folded, anything that is folded in biology, it has to be increasing of surface area. Okay, anything that is related to folded layer, it has to increase. Anything that's folded, it has to increase surface area. Why do we have to say they increase surface area? Because they will generate even more energy. Can we say they are both organelle? Cannot. cannot. Okay, cannot. Okay, so next, vacuole. Vacuole is a fluid fill set where it can maintain turgidity of plant. What is turgidity? Turgidity is a form of support, but the support can only use it in non-woody plant, which is herbaceous plant. So this is a support, where the support we use it in non-woody plant. Okay, they use it non-woody plant. Because woody plant, you don't need to use water as a support. Turgidity is a water. So when the water diffuses into it, the plant cell becomes turgid, so they are able to provide support to non-woody plant. It contains of nutrients, water, waste substances. Not only just that, nutrients, we have amino acid and also glucose. If you want to write enzymes, hormones, cell sap is also correct because it contains of cell sap, right? Everything here we call this as cell sap. If you want to say cell sap is also correct. Okay, cell sap also correct. So organic acid also can. You can write organic acid. So there's a lot of example in the cell sap. So you can write any example. You can write water, carbon dioxide, oxygen also correct. Okay. Now lysosome. Lysosome is like a human stomach. You know what is the function of your stomach, guys? What is the function of your stomach? Your stomach got what function? Correct. They want to digest food. Very good. They are able to digest food, right? How do they digest food? They will digest food by having enzyme. And lysosome is similar to human stomach. They are used to digest or break down things. So lysosome consists of an enzyme. We call this as hydrolytic enzyme, or you can write lysozyme. Personally, I would prefer you to write lysozyme because it's easier to remember. Lysosome, they have lysozyme. Easier to remember. Lysosome, they have lysozyme. So the function is similar to human. They will break down and digest unwanted organelle. For example, because in a cell, right, it's not only just one chloroplast. They could have many chloroplasts. So let's say this chloroplast is not working, then the lysosome will secrete lysozyme to digest the thing. Like they will break down this thing because they don't want anymore. Whatever thing that you don't want, then you have to remove out from body, right? Same as cell. Whatever thing that is not working in the cell, they will be removed out from the cell. This is what happens to when the chloroplast is not working. The lysosome will digest the chloroplast and then they will just break down the thing. Now, ribosome has no diagram, right? Because ribosome is a dot. The dot over here, I know that you cannot see, but the dot usually can be found on the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, it can be found on the rough endoplasmic reticulum. This rough endoplasmic reticulum, it has dot on top. Can you see there's dot, 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 dot. Now the dot, 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 dot here is actually ribosome. Ribosome function is to synthesize protein. What does synthesize means? Synthesize, it means produce. So they will produce protein. We don't write produce protein. We only write synthesize. So we will produce protein, synthesize protein. Now this, when they synthesize, function of rough ER, when we say, we will say RER or rough ER. In exam, can you write RER? Of course cannot, because it's not proven this as a short form. So you cannot write RER. You have to write rough endoplasmic reticulum. The function is used to synthesize or transport synthesized protein. They will transfer protein to where? They will transfer protein to the Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus is like a factory. Okay, they're like a factory. Factory, okay, they are similar to a factory. You know, if you've been to a factory, then you understand how does a factory work. Imagine you went to a bread factory. So If you want to produce a bread, you have the flour, you have water, you have egg, you mix together, right? Okay, mix. If you want to make it into a chocolate bread, you add chocolate inside, right? And then you make it into a bread, and then you transport out from the factory, right? These Golgi apparatus has a similar function. As you can see, they what? Process, modify, package, sort, and transport. In short, you can call this as PMPST or PMPT. PMPST or PMPT. So imagine again, you have bread, you want to process, you add the flour, add the water, add the egg together, you process it to a bread dough, and then you want to make it into a chocolate bread. You modify it into a chocolate bread, and then as you produce into a chocolate bread, this bread has to be packaged. You don't buy bread like that, right? No package. There's a packaging, all right? So when you buy the package, when you buy the bread in a package, you don't buy it in the factory. You can buy it in the factory, but usually we buy it in 7-Eleven, KK, Aeon, right? Then they will be transported out. So all of these things is very similar to a factory function. But of course, this is not to produce bread. The process here is to transport what? Carbohydrate, protein, phospholipid is fat, glycoprotein is a combination of carbohydrate and protein. It can be used within the cell. It can also be used outside the cell. So either they use out or they use within the cell. Now, when they transport, right? Imagine if you want to transport yourself from PJ or from KL to Selangor. Either you can take a LRT, you can take bus, you can take Grab car, right? Same thing. If they want to transport things, they have to use a transporter. So the transporter right now is who? The transporter will be transport vesicle and secretory vesicle. Every vesicle contains of thing. Okay, every vesicle contains of thing. So for vesicle, usually they are like circle shape. Okay, inside got things on. Okay, what do they contain of? Again, what is the function of rough ER, guys? What is the function of rough ER? Transport what? They transport rough ER. Transport what? Correct. Transport protein. Very good. So that's why in this transport vesicle, it contains of protein. Makes sense, right? Because they transport protein. Hence, the transport vesicle contains of protein. Okay, next we have secretory vesicle. Secretory vesicle is also like a balloon thing. Inside contains of something. Right now, because they already modified, they are no longer protein. Okay, we can name them as the other thing because we have enzyme, we have hormones, right? Usually in your syllabus, the secretory vesicle, they will transport enzyme. Usually the protein will modify into enzyme. Usually, okay, it will modify into enzyme because hormones and enzyme, they are made of protein. Hemoglobin also protein. Hair, nails, feather, they are also protein. But over here, the most common example that we use is enzyme. You will learn this in detail in chapter 5. You will learn how enzymes are being produced. So remember, the vesicle is a transporter. Transport vesicle, transport protein. Secretory vesicle, usually they will transport enzyme. Okay, so this is a relationship between ribosome, rough ER, and Golgi apparatus. They will ask you, what is the relationship between ribosome, rough ER, Golgi apparatus? These three of them relates to protein. They have a relationship with protein because one produce protein, one transport protein, one modify protein, right? So they have a relationship with protein. So this is rough ER, Golgi apparatus, and ribosome similarity. Next, we have smooth ER. Smooth ER, there's nothing on top. The reason why this is a rough ER because there's dot, right? Smooth ER, there's nothing on top. There's no dot. So that's why they are smooth. Smooth because there's nothing on top. The function of smooth ER is to synthesize lipid. Synthesize means what? Synthesize means what, guys? We have mentioned synthesize means what? Correct. Synthesize, it means produce. Very good. So they will produce lipid. Lipid means what? Lipid, it means fats. Okay, they will produce lipids, means fats. So they will involve in detoxification as well. What does detoxification mean? It means the things that you don't want, they have to be moved out from body. It's called detoxification. Usually they are referring to drugs and also poison and also your medication. So rough or the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it can be found most abundantly in the liver. So over here you can write found most abundantly in liver. Abundantly means a lot. Okay, they can be found a lot in the liver. Your liver has the same function where they will carry out detoxification. If a person consumes too much of drugs, or maybe they consume like alcohol and Panadol at the same time, the liver will malfunction. The liver gonna damage, you're gonna die. In a short period of time, when your liver starts to having damage, right? Then you're gonna die very fast. So this is actually the smooth ER function. You will carry out detoxification. So the more drugs they consume, the liver has to use a lot of function to make sure that they will remove the drugs out from the body. This is smooth ER. Okay, next we have a centriose. Okay, by the way, how do we differentiate rough ER, smooth ER, and Golgi apparatus? Okay, we have to see these few things. Rough ER, they have dots, right? So usually if in diagram, you will see something like that. So this is how it looks like, okay? And then you have dot, 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 okay? Rough, right? Got dots, that is rough ER. If it's smooth ER, looks the same, but there is no dot. No dot. No dot is smooth ER. Golgi apparatus, it looks like a Wi-Fi. So you cannot draw very nice up, but there's no connection point. You can see that. No connection point. So the difference between smooth ER and Golgi apparatus is there is no connection point. This one has a connection point. This one, no connection point. And your rough ER and smooth ER usually found outside the nucleus. Surround the nucleus, it will be the ER. Around the nucleus, it will be ER. So rough ER and smooth ER is usually outside nucleus. Golgi apparatus is somewhere further away from nucleus. So now that we will understand where do we find the ER, smooth ER, or Golgi apparatus. Okay, so this is rough, smooth, and Golgi apparatus. Now, last one, we have centriose. Centriose is a cylindrical shape. So you can see there's a dot, dot, dot like that one, okay? If you look it this way, okay? Dot, 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 okay? So this is centriose. Centriose can only be found in animal cell. What do? They will form spindle fiber during cell division. What is spindle fiber? Spindle fiber is like line. They'll form a lot of lines and they will carry out cell division, means 1 cell to 2 cell, 2 cell to 4 cell, 4 to 8. We call this as mitosis and also meiosis. Only in animal cell, they will form a spindle fiber. Okay, maybe I can show you a video later to show how spindle fiber is being formed. Okay, so this entire page here is very, very important because in exam, confirm plus chop, they will ask about labeling and function of the organelles. Confirm plus chop, you will see this in your exam. So maybe you need some time for you to remember the function, but you have to know this page. So plant cell doesn't undergo cell division because it doesn't have a centriose. Plant cell also undergoes cell division. They will also form spindle fiber. The spindle fiber is not from the centriose. The spindle fiber is from a centromere. It's apart from the chromosome. So they will form spindle fiber as well. So plant cell also carry out cell division, just that they don't use a centriose. Okay? Can? So this, anyone has question? Anyone has question? Anyone has question on this page? This page is very, very important, guys. Very, very important. Very, very, very. Before your exam, you better remember all of the function and also label. Okay, now done with this one, let's move to the next one, which is the density of certain organelle in specific cell. We have few examples. First, we have mitochondria. Mitochondria, singular, plural, we don't care. Okay, it doesn't matter, singular, plural. What is the function of mitochondria, guys? What is the function of mitochondria? Mitochondria is used to mitochondria. Correct. They used to generate energy. Okay, we don't call produce. We will say generate. Okay, we will use to generate energy in the form of ATP. Okay, we will produce energy in the form of ATP. So they say mitochondria can be found most abundantly in muscle cell and also sperm cell. Muscle cell and also sperm cell. Now, muscle cell has only two functions, maybe two processes, which is contract and relax. Contract and relax. Okay, that is the function of muscle. Now, when we produce any action, your muscle cell requires mitochondria to generate energy so that we can move. No energy, we don't want to move at all. So that's why energy is important to muscle cell. Sperm cell also requires a lot of energy. Why? Because sperm cell has to swim, right? Where do they swim to? They will swim to the ovum in the fallopian tube. To carry out fertilization, they will penetrate with the ovum. Without the mitochondria, the sperm cell cannot move. When sperm cell cannot move, it means the sperm cell is useless because the purpose of sperm cell is to allow fertilization to take place, right? So sperm cell to have mitochondria at this area is very important. Can we answer it in short form like ATP and DNA? In the first term exam, you only learn two short form, which is ATP and DNA. The rest of it, there's no short form. No RER, no SER. You can write ATP, DNA. But if your teacher wants you to define what is the ATP and DNA, then you're going to write the full name. Usually in sentence, we can just write ATP and DNA. So anyway, sperm cell requires energy. Meristematic cell, what does meristem mean? Meristem, it means a young plant cell. It has to be plant. Young plant cell. Because for human, we don't use meristem. We use young. For plant cell, we use meristematic cell, young plant cell. So this young plant cell is similar to human. So for human, if you want to carry out growing process, right, from a small cell, from a baby to an adult, you need to carry out cell division, right? Like you have to become bigger in size, right? So you also carry out cell division, like 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8. So you have a lot of mitochondria in order for you to grow bigger in size. Same as plant cell. Plant cell has to grow. Once they have to grow, they have to use energy, which is mitochondria. Only they can carry out cell division. So mitochondria can be found most abundantly in where? In muscle cell and sperm cell for animal cell. Meristematic cell is only for plant cell. So if they ask about human, your answer can only be muscle and sperm cell. This is the very common asked question also for muscle and sperm cell. Meristematic cell is a plant cell. So you have to read the question whether they want to give you, they want you to give example in plant or animal cell. So this is mitochondria. It's used to generate energy. If it's a chloroplast, chloroplast can only be found in plant cell, right? But which part of plant cell has a lot of chloroplast? If you look at this diagram, you will notice that we have a lot of labeling, right? Chloroplast can be found in 3 areas. Palisade mesophyll cell, spongy mesophyll cell, and also gut cell. So we have 3 areas. Palisade mesophyll cell has the highest density of chloroplast. This one has the highest density of chloroplast. Spongy mesophyll cell has lesser chloroplast. This one also lesser chloroplast. So the reason why palisade mesophyll cell has so many chloroplasts is because that they are nearest to the upper epidermis. They are nearer to the sun. Once they are nearer to the sun, they also arrange closely. Okay, they also arrange closely. They arrange closely. This is the reason why they have a lot of chloroplasts. They can absorb maximum sunlight. When you have a lot of sunlight, you can increase the rate of photosynthesis. Spongy mesophyll cell, they have a lot of space, right? Air space, right? The reason why they have a lot of air space is because that they want to allow carbon dioxide and water to diffuse into it. That's why they have a lot of air space. They also have chloroplast, but it's lesser. Gut cell is the same. They also have chloroplast, but it's lesser in quantity. So if the question asks you which cell has the most chloroplast, your answer has to be palisade mesophyll cell. Palisade mesophyll cell has a lot of chloroplast. That's why the rate of photosynthesis, it will be the highest rate of photosynthesis. Okay, now, next we have ribosome, rough ER, and Golgi apparatus. Okay, we have mentioned these 3 things, we have a similarity, right? What is the similarity between ribosome, rough ER, and Golgi apparatus? What is the similarity between ribosome, rough ER, and Golgi apparatus? Correct, we have a similarity of protein. Very good, they are protein, related to protein. Ribosome synthesize protein, rough ER do what? Rough ER transport protein, very good. And then we have Golgi apparatus, they will modify PMPT, right? Correct, PMPT, protein. So they are related to protein. So we can have a lot of it in pancreas. This is the pancreas, it looks like a leaf-like structure. So we call this as pancreatic cell or pancreatic tissue also can. We have a lot of ribosome, rough ER, and Golgi apparatus. The reason why we have a lot of this is because that we have enzymes and hormones in the pancreas. Enzymes and hormones, they are made of protein. So we have, if you learn chapter 4 before, you will remember that proteins has a lot of examples, right? We have enzymes, hormones, antibodies, hemoglobin, right? So they are all made from protein. But in the pancreas, they will secrete pancreatic juice. Do you guys remember pancreatic juice? Pancreatic juice is the enzyme, right? Okay, what are the enzymes can be found in the pancreatic juice? What are the enzymes that can be found in pancreatic juice? Correct. We have 3 enzymes. In short, we can remember as LAT, the LAT enzyme. Okay, LAT. L stands for lipase. A stands for pancreatic amylase. T is actually trypsin, because in Form 4, we don't use protease in digestive system. From your mouth, in all of the digestive system, right, we don't use protease. We use trypsin, erepsin, and pepsin. So trypsin is the word that we use in pancreatic cell. We don't use protease anymore. But protease is not wrong, just that we don't use it in Form 4 anymore. So we have lipase, pancreatic amylase, and also trypsin. They are enzymes. We have mentioned, right, enzymes, they are made from protein, right? Hormones, okay, there are 2 hormones that are able to control our blood sugar level. You know, what does a diabetic patient inject? Correct, they inject insulin, very good. They inject insulin. So the first hormone that we have is insulin. The other hormone is glucagon. We have insulin and also we have glucagon. Insulin is to reduce blood glucose level. It's to reduce blood glucose level. This is to increase blood glucose level. So only diabetic patient, they have to inject insulin, because when the diabetic patient means that they have a higher sugar level, right? So once they inject insulin, the blood sugar level reduces. When blood sugar level reduces, then they can live their normal life. But if a person with low sugar level, would they inject glucagon? The answer is no. They will not inject glucagon, because we have a faster way to do it is by eating sweet. You can eat sweet, you can eat chocolate, you can drink sucrose solution. Nobody inject glucagon, because you can just replace by eating sweet things. Don't have to inject glucagon. Every human, we have insulin and we also have glucagon. So when we, after meal, right, our body will produce insulin. So they will convert all of the glucose into glycogen. When you feel hungry, have you guys experienced hungry until you are full? Like you feel very hungry, but after a while, you're okay with it. Have you guys experienced that before? Usually in your school, because your school cannot eat, right? So when you feel this hungry until you are full, right, it's because that your body will produce glucagon. They will convert your glycogen into your glucose. So temporarily, they will give you energy temporarily, because the glycogen is a temporary storage of energy. Then after you use it, then no more. I'm hungry until I feel gastric. Then you can just eat a sweet. If you feel gastric, just eat a sweet. At least you don't feel so suffering at the moment. Just eat one sweet, okay? If you feel very tired, then just eat a sweet. What does a ribosome do? Ribosome synthesize protein. They will produce protein, ribosome. Okay, so this is pancreatic cell. So the reason now that you know why pancreatic cell have a lot of ribosome, RAF, ER, and Golgi apparatus is because that they are related to protein, and your pancreatic cell has enzymes and hormones. They are made of protein. Okay, so this is also a common question that you will see. Okay, now these 2 pages is really very important, not just for your first term exam. It's also important for your future exam as well. You have to know the function and also label. Maybe right now you feel a bit hard to remember everything, but when you try to do question more often, then eventually you just remember the function. Don't need to purposely memorize it, because if you force yourself to memorize, you're not going to remember. When you practice a few questions, then you will get what the question wants. And the question is kind of repeated one actually. Okay, anyway, you guys have any question on page 2 and page 3, you can ask me. Anyone has question on page 2 and page 3? Anybody has question on, am I going too fast, guys? Okay with this speed? Any question? Yes or no? Okay, no question, okay, let's move to the question. Okay, let's try some question right now. Flip to your question 1, page 1. Question 1, page 1, okay. Diagram 1 shows an animal cell as seen under electron microscope. So this is animal cell, obviously, because the question says it's an animal cell, right? We will label what is X, Y, Z, W. Okay, let's start with Z first. Z is, you can see there's a cloud inside, right? So what is Z? Correct, Z is a mitochondria. Z is a mitochondria. Okay, Z is a mitochondria. Then what about Y? Can you see this is nucleus? They are outside the nucleus. Outside nucleus is either smooth ER or rough ER, right? But you cannot see there's a dot. Can you see there's no dot there, right? So we cannot assume that there is dot because there's no dot. So we just assume this as a smooth endoplasmic reticulum, correct? Smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Unless there has dot, then we can only assume that this is a rough ER. When there's no dot, we cannot assume that there is dot, right? But maybe the diagram is here, it's not very clear. That's why we cannot see it's a smooth or rough, but when there's no dot, we just assume this is a smooth. And then we have W. So W is only just dot. Can you see it's a dot circle as only one? So this is a centrioles, correct? Centrioles. The centrioles can look like that, or the one in your notes. It can be the one in your notes also can. So it can be the other shape also can. And then we have X. X, there's no connection point. Can you see there's no connection point? No connection point called Golgi apparatus. Very good. Golgi apparatus. It's known as Golgi apparatus. So we have the answer for W, X, Y, Z. Okay, next B. State one function W and Y. W is a centrioles. Okay, what does a centrioles form? They will form a lot of lines, right? What do you call the lines as? The lines is known as spindle fiber, correct? Why do they need to form spindle fiber? Because they want to carry out cell division. Cell division means 1 to 2, 2 to 4, right? So W, you can write form spindle fiber during cell division. You want to write Form spindle fiber during cell division. In animal cell also can. Your choice, but because this is already animal cell, so don't have to write that also, never mind. Now, Y is a smooth ER, right? So what is the function of smooth ER? Smooth ER function is, correct, synthesize what? We want to synthesize. There's nothing on top, right? It means it's not protein, right? It's lipid, very good. It's lipid, synthesize lipid, okay, lipid. Or you can write to undergo detoxification process also can. Detoxify also can. So you can say synthesize lipid. You can write detoxification of drugs and poison also can. Okay, next, name an example of an animal cell that's a lot of component Z. What is component Z? Is mitochondria. Because this is animal cell, right? We cannot write the one that is plant cell. So animal cell, we have two answers. There's a lot of mitochondria. You can write sperm cell. You can also write muscle cell. But can you write meristematic cell? Of course, cannot write, because meristematic cell is a plant cell. If it's a plant, then you can write meristematic cell, but this is an animal cell. So you're going to write muscle cell or sperm cell, whichever you prefer. So let's say I write sperm cell. Sperm cell. Then it asks, the role of Z in the cell mentioned in C1. So what is the function of sperm cell? What is the function of sperm cell? They have to swim, correct? They have to swim and fertilize with the ovum, right? Because usually this kind of question is 2 marks. It is 2 marks, okay? If it's a 2 marks question, how are we supposed to write 2 marks question? The first answer, we need to write the function of mitochondria. If it's 2 marks, the first sentence, we have to write the function of mitochondria. So you can say, Z generate energy in the form of ATP, okay? So you can talk about the function of the mitochondria first, and then we talk about the sperm cell. So you can say sperm cell requires energy to swim and penetrate ovum during fertilization. During fertilization. Okay, so if the question is 2 marks, should I write Z or mitochondria in this type of question? Okay, the very good question. Should I write Z or should you write mitochondria? If your question already labeled that Z is a mitochondria, you can write mitochondria. If you never label Z as a mitochondria, you can only write Z. Okay, if you already label Z as mitochondria, over here you can just write mitochondria because it tallies with your answer above. But if you never label Z as a mitochondria, you have to write Z. Applies to all of the question. If you never label before, you write the label they give it to you. If you label before, write the name also can. You can write Z, you can write mitochondria. For muscle movement, can I write muscle? For muscle cell, can I write muscle movement? Can, you can. To contract and relax to produce a movement, can. Contract and relax to produce a movement. Okay, now, done with this page, guys? Done? Okay, done. Next, what will happen to a cell if component Z fails to function? For sperm cell, do I need to say during fertilization? Actually, you need because they want to penetrate ovum, right? The process is called fertilization. Suppose 2, you have to write the process. But some teachers, they don't care, but usually I will just write the process. Okay, now when you see this kind of question where they say fails to function, not functioning well, removal of a thing, now how can our answer to be? We cannot say die. When you write die, it's never correct because biology, we don't accept die as an answer. We have to explain why they die. Why they die or how they die. Biology is not die. You have to explain how they die, why they die. When you look at this question, the easiest way to answer and the best way to answer is you write the function of Z. In front, you add the word unable. Okay, then you have your answer. Unable to what? Unable to generate energy in the form of ATP. That will be your answer. Unable to generate energy in the form of ATP. So next time when you see this kind of question, write your function, in front you write the word unable. Okay, can? Now D1, name one component that exists only in plant cell. Only in plant cell. Only in plant cell, you can write cell wall, you can write chloroplast, also can, your choice okay? So let's say I write chloroplast Chloroplast. All right, chloroplast. You can also write cell wall. Big vacuole also can. also cannot correct. Large, or not wrong, large vacuole also can. Name one component that exists in animal cell, can only be found in animal cell. Your answer can only be centrioles. No any other answer. It's only centrioles. Okay, anyone has questions on this question? Any part you don't understand? Ken? Okay, now Ken, let's move to question 2. The diagram below shows structure of a cell observed under electron microscope. Structure P can only be found in plant cell. Name P and the function. So P is the outermost layer of a plant cell. We call this as a cell wall. Very good. So P is cell wall. Then what about function of cell wall? Correct, to maintain the shape of cell. Very good. To maintain the shape of cell. 30DT is more on the vacuole. So we just write to maintain the shape of a cell. Okay, so this is to maintain the shape of cell. Next, we have structure Q is found on both plant and animal cell. Name structure Q and name one characteristic for this structure. So we have to name the characteristic. Characteristic, you cannot talk about. You can talk about function, but you have to name the characteristic first. Can you go to 1, 2? Is it this one? So your answer is plasma membrane, right? So plasma membrane, you can write, okay, usually what we're going to write for plasma membrane is semi-permeable, because semi-permeable is easier to explain as answer. And in chapter 3, we also learned that plasma membrane is semi-permeable, right? So semi-permeable is easier for everyone to remember. Selectively permeable also can. Semi-permeable, selectively permeable, partially permeable also correct. So we have to say Q is plasma membrane. And then you write it is semi-permeable to allow substances to move in and out of cell. So you have to write what? You have to write the characteristic, because it asks you to write the characteristic. Thin and elastic also correct actually. Just that we just write semi-permeable most of the time, because usually if you ask about plasma membrane, then you have to talk about semi-permeable, right? Oh, forgot to write certain. Thanks. To allow certain substances to pass through. Very good. Forgot to write certain substances to pass through. Need to write certain. Yes, you need to write certain. Okay, what are structure P and Q made of? P is a cell wall. Cell wall is made of a sugar that is not sweet. We call this as cellulose. Very good. So P, just write out. P is made of cellulose. So Q, plasma membrane, is made of 2 things. Okay, these 2 things is known as phospholipid, correct? And the other one we call this as protein, correct? So Q is made of phospholipid and protein. Phospholipid and protein. If you don't remember what is a phospholipid and protein, you can look at your chapter 3 notes, so you can see that phospholipid is something like that. It's phospholipid. And then protein, they have a carrier protein and pop protein. Correct. The polar head and non-polar fatty acid tail, correct. Polar phosphate head and non-polar fatty acid tail. You can look at your notes. I draw a bit uglier. So this is phospholipid under chapter 3. State 2 examples of cell set contents. What does the cell set contains of? We have a lot of things in the cell set, right? You can write any 2 examples. Water, nutrients, carbon dioxide, oxygen, amino acid, glucose, organic acid also can. Mineral also can, correct? So you can write mineral, salt. You can write glucose. You can write amino acid. You can write water, oxygen, carbon dioxide. Any 2 examples also correct. Okay, Ken? Now E. Read the following information. They say structure R is usually found in the cell of green plants. So they ask you, based on statement above, explain the importance of structure R to green plants. We have to identify what is structure R first, right? If you look at this diagram, you can see that R is what? R is a chloroplast, correct? If they didn't give you a diagram, then you also should know that R is a chloroplast, because R is found in green plants. Green plants, it has to be chloroplast. Why do you think that plants is green in color? Because chloroplast contains of, what do they contain of? The green pigment, we call this as, correct, we call this as chlorophyll. Very good. Chlorophyll. Okay, it's called chlorophyll. Green pigment is called chlorophyll. Where this green pigment, chlorophyll, they will trap sunlight and convert the light energy into chemical energy during photosynthesis. That's why structure R, which is chloroplast, is important to the plant. Trap sunlight to carry photosynthesis, correct. So you can write R is chloroplast. And then you can say chloroplast contains of chlorophyll that trap sunlight and convert into chemical energy during photosynthesis. I thought it's palisade mesophyll cell. Oh no, it's green plant. If it's green plant, then the answer will not be palisade mesophyll cell unless they ask which cell contains highest density of R. Then your answer is palisade mesophyll cell. Okay, so we have to talk about chlorophyll, trap sunlight. Just in case you guys don't know what is the chemical energy. Chemical energy is glucose or sugar. It's called chemical energy because to carry out, after they carry out photosynthesis, they are able to produce glucose, right? So chemical energy is actually the glucose. Write one word equation to show the overall reaction that occurs in organelle R. Word equation don't need to form sentence. Literally it's an equation, but there's no chemical formula. So there's no CO2H2O. What we have to write is we have to write water, carbon dioxide, no H2O, no CO2. So to carry out photosynthesis, what do they need? They need what? Carbon dioxide and water chloride with the presence of what? Carbon dioxide, water with the presence of sunlight and also, one more thing, chlorophyll. Very good, sunlight and chlorophyll. So what do they form? What do they produce? Photosynthesis. They will produce glucose chloride and also oxygen. Very good. So word equation, guys, is word equation. No CO2, no H2O. So you can write carbon dioxide and water with the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Sunlight, chlorophyll, they will produce glucose and oxygen. Of course, there are people who ask, teacher, can I terbalik write like that? Can I write water and carbon dioxide? Can I write oxygen and glucose? Also can. As long as this is behind, this is in front, how you want to arrange is also correct. You can write water, carbon dioxide, or oxygen, glucose also can. It doesn't matter how you want to write it. Your choice, guys, whichever you prefer. Okay, so this is word equation, okay? We don't really write chemical equation in biology. Usually we just write word equation. Which organelle is involved in modifying, sorting, and packaging of proteins? Of course, it's Golgi apparatus because Golgi apparatus is a factory, right? Golgi apparatus. Next, state one tissue which organelle, this F, not E. F is found most abundantly. Which cell has a lot of Golgi apparatus? Liver got Golgi apparatus, Liver is smooth ER, right? Which one? The pancreatic cell, correct. The pancreatic cell is the pancreatic cell. Pancreatic tissue, because the question says tissue, right? So it's pancreatic tissue. Will your teacher give you wrong if you write pancreatic cell? Some teacher, they don't care, but some teacher, they care a lot. So just based on the question to write the tissue or a cell. Give a reason for your answer. Why pancreatic tissue has a lot of Golgi apparatus? Because it will produce what and what? They are made of protein. They can produce two things, right? Enzymes and also hormones. Very good. Enzymes and hormones, they are made of protein. So you can say it produces enzymes and hormones which are made from protein. It produces enzyme and hormone which are made from protein. Okay, Ken? Done with this page? Anyone has question on page 4? Ken? No, hormone is made of protein. Of course, hormone is made of protein. Hormone made of protein, hemoglobin, antibodies, enzymes, hair, nails, feathers, everything is made of protein. Okay, 2.3 shows the longitudinal section of an onion bulb. The bulb is planted in the soil. Explain why organelle R is not present in the onion scale leaf. So you all know onion, right? Is onion green in color? Is the onion bulb green in color? No, right? It's not green in color, right? So do you think that they have chloroplast? Of course, no, because there is no chloroplast, there's not green in color, right? So they don't need to carry out photosynthesis. That's why onion has no chloroplast. So what is the function of onion bulb then? Because they cannot carry out photosynthesis, correct? They will store food. And the food stored in this onion bulb is used to carry out germination. What is germination? Germination means they want to form green leaves. It's called germination. So they want to store food because they're underground. They don't need sunlight. They need to use the onion bulb to store food, and they will use the food during germination. So you can see that onion bulb does not need to carry out photosynthesis. Does not need to carry out photosynthesis. Then you can see it is used to store food. It is used to store food. And the store food, it will be used during germination, where it leads to the next question. It says, explain what happens to the growth of onion plant if the onion bulb is placed in the dark cardboard. So if you are placed in the dark cardboard, do you think that the onion bulb will die? No, right? Because they don't need sunlight, right? It's a similar idea. They are underground. They don't need sunlight. But the growth of the plant, they will decrease. Why? Because when they are underground, right, they will use the food in the onion bulb to carry out germination. So that's why eventually the growth will become lower. Okay, the graph is like that one. Let me draw the graph for you to see so you can understand better. The graph of an onion plant is like that. They will decrease and they will increase. This is the graph of the plant. The reason why they will decrease over here is because that they will carry out germination. Okay, they carry out germination. That's why they will decrease in growth. But after that, why do they increase? Okay, why do you think they will increase after germination? Because they can carry out photosynthesis. When they are able to carry out photosynthesis, it means that they can produce their own food. So the mass of the food, they will increase inside, increase in weight. So decrease because during germination, the food is being used. Increases because they are able to form new leaves, they are able to carry out photosynthesis. So in sentence, we can write this where we can say that the growth become slow. This is because the food stored in onion is used to carry out germination. Is used to carry out germination. They don't need nutrients anymore. They need just that they will use to carry out germination so that in the future they can produce their nutrients by themselves. So that in the future they can produce nutrients by themselves. It's not because they don't need nutrients. It's because that in the future they have a way for them to produce nutrients. Okay, guys? Okay, now done with this. Maybe we try one more question and then we go to the next part. Okay, question 3. Can I write point form exam? You can, but your sentence has to be complete sentence. So it means that your answer has to be a complete sentence. This is correct. This is correct. This is 1 mark. This is 1 mark. It has to be complete sentence. You cannot just write point. Oh, sorry. You cannot just write keywords. You can write like that, but it has to be a complete short sentences. Don't need to use therefore, hence. Don't need to use all these words. Just that it has to be a complete short sentences. If your teacher prefer you to write in paragraph, then you can write in paragraph. But usually they just write like that. This is the correct way because it's easier for teacher to mark also. If it's 2 marks, I see 2 points, chances of you getting 2 points is correct. Do I need to spell the word correct? Of course you need. What are the words that you can spell wrongly? You can spell the word, wrongly, become. You can write past tense. Because you can spell wrongly, but what are the words you have to spell correctly? You have to say the growth is low. This word you cannot write wrongly. Germination, you cannot spell wrongly. It means that the keyword you cannot spell wrongly. Whatever word besides keyword you can spell wrongly without deducting marks. Keywords have to be correct. Other spelling, we don't care one. Okay. If you want to use singular, plural, past tense, present tense, we don't really care about that. Okay. Now let's look at question 3. Diagram 16 shows the structure of a plant cell viewed under an electron microscope. So same thing, we have to label the area. Let's start from P first, guys. P is the outermost layer. Outermost layer is what? P is a cell wall, correct? P is a cell wall. Then what is S? S, can you see there's a lot of things inside. It's not like a cloud shape. So this is a chloroplast. Very good. This is chloroplast. It's not chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is inside. So this is chloroplast. And then T is the large vacuole. So this is a vacuole. Don't have to write large vacuole also, never mind. Vacuole is correct. And then U, there's no connection point. So U, there's no connection point. We call this as Golgi apparatus. And then we have V, there's a cloud inside. So V is what? Mitochondria. Very good. Mitochondria. And W is actually the nucleus. Yes, W is the nucleus, because usually nucleus looks like that. Inside got a lot of line, that is actually the chromosome. So we have to answer lah. We label more than enough lah. Okay, state the function of structural, the SUV. S is a chloroplast. So what is the function of chloroplast? Okay, if you want to write a short answer for chloroplast, what can you write? You can write to undergo photosynthesis, a short answer. If you want to write a long answer, you can say it contains of chlorophyll which traps sunlight and convert into chemical energy during photosynthesis. Also can lah, okay, it's your choice lah. So we can write undergo photosynthesis. Undergo photosynthesis. And then we have U. What is U? U is Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus function, short form. What are the short form that we have to write? PMPT. Very good. PMPT. PMPST also can. PMPT also can. So U, you can write process, modify, package, and transport. If you want to write protein also can. You want to write glycoprotein also can. So I just choose either one to write lah. Glycoprotein. Because it's only 1 mark, so you don't have to elaborate the answer, right? You don't have to continue the sentence also, never mind. But if you want your answer to be very complete, then I will suggest you to separate to write. You have to say process and modify protein into enzyme where it is packaged and transported out of cell or within the cell by secretory vesicle. But if it's just a function like that, just write over here, stop here also can. But if you want to be a little bit more complete, you can say that transport glycoprotein out of cell or use within the cell by secretory vesicle. By secretory vesicle. And then we have W. What is W? W is nucleus. Nucleus, everybody should know what is nucleus. Where they will control our cell activities. If you want to say that the contents of DNA, also can, okay? Control all cell activity. Control all cell activities. State the similarity between S and W. S and W is chloroplast and mitochondria. There's only one similarity, right? We have mentioned, right? One similarity, you can only write what? You can only write they have, correct. Both of them, they have double membrane. Very good. Only double membrane as an answer. Whatever you're thinking, what energy, organelle are all wrong. You have to write double membrane. Both have double membrane. Both have double membrane. Okay, explain why V has folded inner membrane. Anything that is folded, teacher can say found in plant cell, cannot say they are found in plant cell. You have only one answer, which is double membrane. The reason why they are folded is because they want to increase surface area. Very good. Okay, we have to explain our answer, right? The reason why they have to increase surface area because they want to generate more energy in the form of ATP, correct? Make it faster. Not to say make it faster. Generate more energy. We have to still base on the organelle to write the function. So you can say to increase surface area, and it can generate more energy in the form of ATP by cellular respiration. By cellular respiration. So whatever you say increase surface area, you still have to base on whatever it is. So if it's a mitochondria, then you have to generate more energy. If it's a root hair cell, to absorb more water and minerals. If it's a brain, then you have to increase neurons, to have more, to store more neurons. So it depends on what are the examples. Explain how the compound in P helps to carry out the function. What is P? Sorry, P is what? P is cell wall. Okay, now we all know that cell wall is to maintain the shape of cell, right? So we have mentioned that in order to maintain the shape of cell, what are the characteristics they need to have? What are the characteristics? Direct at the side one, remember? Correct. Tough and rigid. It's not turgid. Tough and rigid. Tough and rigid. Tough and rigid, only able for them to maintain the shape of cell. So you can say P is tough and rigid. This enable plant to maintain the shape of cell, tough and rigid. Okay, E1, state two types of cell in which of structure V is found abundant. So what is V again? V is mitochondria. Mitochondria can be found most abundantly in which cell? Usually we will refer as, we don't have to care whether it's animal cell or plant cell, whichever two also can. So you can write sperm cell, muscle cell, we can also write plant cell. We call this as meristematic cell also can, whichever two. So if you want to write the easy one, of course, you write sperm cell and muscle cell because it's easier to remember. Sperm cell, muscle cell. If you want to write meristematic cell also can. Meristematic cell. Okay, draw the label diagram for structure V. You want to draw a mitochondria. Okay, usually we don't draw mitochondria in exam. We don't really have to draw, but since the question wants you to draw, we draw. Does cellulose in cell wall help in rigidity of the outer layer? Because we have a lot of examples of the substance to make cell wall or to provide support to the cell wall. So they are not to help in rigidness. They are helps in supporting, more on supporting than rigidness. Because it's not only cellulose to make cell wall. There are other things to make cell wall also. We will learn later, okay? Now we have to draw structure V. Remember, structure V is double membrane. So we have outer membrane, they're a bit ugly, but never mind. Inner membrane. Remember to label your diagram. So we have to label the outer layer and inner layer. Let me use other color. This is outer membrane. This is inner membrane. There are some teachers who teach you the other name of mitochondria, where it is known as the creaste and also known as a matrix. But some teachers, they don't teach us, so it's okay. If you want to label this area here as a matrix, this area here, the curve is called a creasta. Need to see is folded. Don't need to say it's folded because folded membrane is not a labeling. It's what we see. So it's not, don't have to write they are folded. Okay, explain what happens to a plant cell if structure V is absent. If a plant cell has no mitochondria, it means that they cannot generate energy. When they cannot generate energy, what will happen to the plant cell? Because whenever you see the word absent, right? Then the first sentence you have to write function in front, you add the word unable, right? Unable to generate energy in the form of ATP. So the plant cell cannot carry out the normal activities. You can say metabolic activities. You can also mention that the plant cell cannot grow if it's a young plant cell. But generally, we'll just say that number one, unable to generate energy in the form of ATP. Next, you can see that the cell activities unable to carry out due to absence of mitochondria. Metabolic activities is similar to cell activities. Whatever that happens in the cell, we call it as metabolic activities. Can I say cannot produce cell during cell division for cell activities? You can say unable to carry out cell division in meristematic cell. Can. Okay, any other question from this page? Done with this page? Done? If you have done, we're going to move to the last, the next page, which is the last question of this question. Okay, what are the characteristics which enables you to differentiate plant cell from animal cell? Easy lah, this one. How do you want to differentiate plant cell and animal cell? Plant cell has one thing that animal cell don't have. They have fixed shape, correct? What else? Fixed shape, no more. No more fixed shape. They have chloroplast cell wall, very good. They have large vacuole, also can. So you can say, okay, this is plant cell, this is animal cell. Can you write table in exam? Of course, cannot. Cannot write table in exam unless it's an essay question. Essay question, you can write table form. Structural question, no table form. So plant cell, you can say this one has cell wall, has chloroplast, and large vacuole. And the other one, you just write absent, absent, absent. Done, settle, guys. Absence of cell wall, absence of chloroplast, absence of large vacuole. Or you can say presence of small but numerous vacuole also can. You can say that animal cell has centrioles also can. Also can. You can say animal cell has centrioles lah. Okay, done with this. Can I say no? Okay, you can say no. You can say no cell wall also can. Remember, no table form in exam unless it's an essay question. Structure question, no table form. Okay, any question from this page? If it's compare and contrast, means we have to write similarity and differences. Yes, if it's compare and contrast, you need to write similarity and differences. If you only write similarity or you only write differences, you will never get the full marks. Okay, compare and contrast, you have to write both. Okay, any question from this page? Okay, now let's move back to the notes, guys. Let's move to the notes, which is under paramecium species and amoeba species. So 2.2 is called cell organization, where we have amoeba species and paramecium species. When we write amoeba species and paramecium species, we have to capital what? Capital A, capital P. This is a fix, okay? You need to capital A, capital P. And the proper way of writing a scientific name, actually, you have to underline. Actually, you have to underline, but I don't think your first exam requires you to underline the scientific name. For animal cell, need to write if presence of vacuole, it is small, correct? Small but numerous in number for vacuole. By the way, back to this, amoeba A has to be capital, B has to be capital. Let's look at amoeba species first. Amoeba species, no fixed shape. It can be a jelly, no fixed shape, right? But paramecium species has a fixed shape. What is the difference between amoeba and paramecium species? Amoeba species, they have the outermost layer, the outer layer. The outer layer is called endoplasm and ectoplasm, but we don't have to know ecto and endoplasm. Generally, the membrane, we call this as plasma membrane. Okay, we just label as a plasma membrane. Plasma membrane, okay? Generally, just call plasma membrane. Don't have to write ectoplasm or endoplasm. And then this outer layer, it can also be their hands and also leg. We call this as pseudopodium. We call this as false limb. False limb, it means false hand and also false leg. It's called false limb. It can be hand, it can be leg. It means they will use the hand to eat. They can also use their leg to walk. Also cannot. It can be hand, it can also be leg. So it's called false limb. And then inside it contains of sheeting. We have this thing here called nucleus. In your exam, it's always black and white. How do we differentiate? We have three things inside. The one that is shaded in darker color, it has to be nucleus. The one that is shaded in darker color, it has to be nucleus. So the function of nucleus is the same. They want to control all cell activity. This nucleus works the same. They want to control all cell activity. The other one, you can see that there is food inside. Whenever there is food inside, we call it as food vacuole. Food vacuole. Whenever there is food inside, it has to be food vacuole. So food vacuole is like stomach lah. They want to digest the food or something like that lah. It's food vacuole. And then we have this thing here called contractile vacuole. Contractile vacuole is empty. There is nothing inside. It's just water. So contractile vacuole is like a human urinary bladder. They will store water. When it's full, they will contract and expel water out. So contractile vacuole, they will undergo a process. We call this as osmoregulation. 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 What does osmoregulation mean? Osmo, it means water. Osmo means water. Regulate means regulate. Everybody should know what's regulate, right? When the terms ends with ION, what does it mean? When the terms ends with ION, it means what? Correct. It means it's a process. Very good. When the terms that ends with ION is a process, I've mentioned in the normal class many, many times, right? When the term ends with ION, it's a process. So osmoregulation is a process to regulate water balance in the cell. In simple word, I reckon simple word for you to understand, a process to control water balance in the cell. Control water balance in cell. We call this as osmoregulation. A process to control water balance in cell. Osmoregulation. Okay, so contractile vacuole is important. No contractile vacuole, they will die very fast. Okay, the reason why is because that these amoeba species and paramecium species, they live in water, which is a fresh water, maybe the lake, a river, or even waterfall. And they have a lot of amoeba species and also paramecium species. Then they live inside. When water diffuses into it, they will remove water out. One is maximum size, then they will release the water out from the body. Now for paramecium species, right, they have a fixed shape. And the outermost layer, they have this thing called cilia. Cilia is a hair-like structure, okay? We call this as cilia, the hair-like structure. This hair-like structure is for them to move. We call this as beating of cilia. So they move their cilia and then they will like brush, okay? They'll move around using the cilia. Later, I can show you a video of how they move using a cilia. Okay, it's very cute. They will turn around and then they will just beat the cilia. So inside, they have this sun-like structure. Can you see this like a sun, but it's not a sun up. We call this as contractile vacuole. Contractile vacuole function is the same. Every contractile vacuole, it works the same. Is to carry out osmoregulation, right? Every contractile vacuole. Do you have to write anterior and posterior? You don't need to write anterior, posterior. But what is the meaning of anterior, guys? What is the meaning of anterior? Anterior means what? Anterior means front, okay? Anterior means front, it's called anterior. Up is superior. Front is anterior. Posterior, it means the back part. So anterior means the front, posterior means the back part. Don't need to write anterior and posterior. You just have to write contractile vacuole, that's all. Just need to write contractile vacuole, okay? So inside, they also contain a part. They also have food vacuole. They also have nucleus, but they have two nucleus. Two nucleus, okay? Up also means dorsal. Yes, up is also, okay lah. Dorsal, you cannot say up lah. Dorsal is at the, dorsal ventral is at back and front. So this is dorsal, this is ventral actually. Dorsal and ventral. Back and front lah. Actually lah, it's called dorsal ventral, back and front. So we have two nucleus in paramecium species, right? These two nucleus, we have the big and also the small one. So of course, how do we differentiate? The small one is called micronucleus. The big one is called macronucleus. You can remember as major and minor. Major means big, right? Minor means small, right? So this one is major. Major means big one, okay? The big one. If it's micro, micro is minor. Minor means what? The small one. Minor is the small one. They have different function. The macronucleus and micronucleus, they have different function. The big one, they will control metabolic activities. This one, control metabolic activity. Means all cell activity, all of the cell activity is called metabolic activities. But for micronucleus, they will control reproduction. So they will use the micronucleus to carry out reproduction later on. So they have two functions. And the special thing about that is not just two nucleus. What do they have? They have mouth and also anus. So the mouth is oral groove. Okay, oral means what? Oral means mouth. Groove, it means a hole. It's called a groove. So oral groove is this area, the mouth groove. Okay, oral groove. And then this one over here is called anus. Anus, you all know what is anus, right? Anus, anal pore, anus, the part where they shit. So they use their mouth to eat, they use their butt to shit. Okay? This is oral groove and anus. So that's why these amoeba species and paramecium species, they have their own characteristic. They have a fixed shape and one that's no fixed shape. But both of them, they use simple diffusion to carry out gases exchange, means oxygen diffuses into it, carbon dioxide diffuses out. They don't like sunlight, they don't like chemical substances, they don't like pH value. They will move away from sunlight, they will move away from low pH, they will move away when there is no water. So this is the similarity, this is the similarity between amoeba species and paramecium species. This is in the middle, this is the similarity. Now, what is the differences between amoeba and paramecium species? Amoeba species, they have only asexual, means it's only by themselves. There's no partner, it's only asexual. They have binary fission and forming spore. What is binary fission? Binary fission means 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8. It means they will separate themselves. It's called binary fission, 1 to 2, 2 to 4, binary fission. Forming spore, it means that they will have like mushroom. You know mushroom, how do they reproduce? They will form spore. This is how they form spore, spore formation. Binary fission is only favorable condition. How do we define as a favorable condition? Is when there is enough of water, enough of food. Got water, got food, temperature is okay. We call this as favorable. Not favorable means what? No food, no water, dry. Low temperature, acidic. That is called not favorable. And then for paramecium species, they have also two processes: binary fission and conjugation. Binary fission is also 1 to 2 to the power, only favorable, only in a good condition. They can split themselves, only in good condition. They can split 1 to 2. Not favorable, they will carry out sexual reproduction. Sexual means what? Means we have two amoeba species. The oral groove and oral groove, they will bind together. Imagine this is another one. So the oral groove and oral groove, they will stick together. So they will kiss. Once they kiss, they got baby. They will share them. They will exchange the nucleus. Once they exchange nucleus, both also get baby. So kiss got baby only happens in paramecium species, not human. Human kiss no baby one. Okay, only paramecium species. The mouth and mouth put together, they transfer nucleus, they exchange nucleus, only they get baby. We call this as conjugation. Conjugation, where the oral groove and oral groove exchange nucleus through oral groove. Okay, so feeding is important for amoeba species. This one they always ask in exam. The feeding for amoeba species has a process. We call this as phagocytosis. What does phagocytosis mean? Phago means eat. Cytosis, it means it's a process. A process of eating, we call this as phagocytosis. So amoeba only carry out asexual and parameciums carry out sexual and asexual. Correct? In different conditions, yes, correct. Amoeba only asexual, paramecium species is sexual and asexual. So back to this phagocytosis. This one is very important. The exam always asks about phagocytosis. Okay, imagine I am one amoeba species. I imagine I am one amoeba. I want to eat food. Imagine I want to eat McDonald's. I have to go to McDonald's, right? The food will never go to me. I have to go to the food. So how do I go to the food? I will extend my hand. My hand called pseudopodium. I extend, I engulf the food. Once I extend and engulf the food, they will form into a food vacuole, which is a stomach. When I engulf means eat. It's over here. Engulf, okay? Engulf, okay? So engulf, it means eat. When I engulf the food, I hug the food, I form a food vacuole. Food vacuole only is to store food. But how do they want to digest the food? The food vacuole has to fuse with a thing called lysosome. What does lysosome secrete? What does lysosome secrete? Lysosome secrete an enzyme called lysozyme. Hydrolytic enzyme also can, lysozyme also can. So the enzyme, they will digest the food. Okay, digest the food. Food digested, absorb nutrients into the cytoplasm. So you as a human is the same, right? You want to eat, you digest food, you absorb nutrients. So right now, the shit, the leftover, the shit, you have to shit it out. But in amoeba species, we don't use the word shit. We have to use a word called undigested food. Undigested food will be left behind as amoeba species move forwards. So the process is a bit similar to human now. We eat, we digest, absorb nutrients, and there's a process called assimilate. Assimilate means what? You convert your food into something useful. For example, you will convert your glucose into energy. We call this as assimilation. This is what we call as phagocytosis. Extend, engulf, and then form a food vacuole, fuse with lysosome. Lysosome digest the food, absorb nutrients, assimilate nutrients, and then the undigested food will be left behind as you move forward. This one usually in exam is 5 marks. I don't know whether your first time exam got AC question or not, but this is a very common asked question in exam. They ask you to explain what is a phagocytosis, or they ask you to explain the feeding process of amoeba species. But for paramecium species, it's lesser. Why? Because paramecium species, right, is very similar to human. Eat from the mouth, form a food vacuole, fuse with lysosome. The undigested food will be left out from the anus. So usually they ask about phagocytosis because phagocytosis has a process name. Paramecium species has no process name. Okay, the other one they always ask is excretion. Excretion, they always ask, no matter whether it's paramecium species or amoeba species. Same as human, we have our bladder. A bladder is to store urine. When you keep on drinking water and you don't go to pee, what happened to a human? What happened to you? If you keep on drinking water and you don't pee, what happened to you? Correct, you get kidney stone, okay, what else? You want to pee, you pee on your pants, right, okay? Then either you pee on your pants or you get kidney stone, right? So, amoeba species, water keep on diffusing into it because as I mentioned, right, they live in water. The water keep on diffusing into it. If they don't remove the water out, they will burst. Literally, they will burst. It's a popping lah. It's not explosion lah. If it's explosion, then explode so many times already. So it's a popping like pop pop, then they die already. So when water diffuses into it to a maximum size, they will contract and expel water out. They need to contract and need to expel water out. This is how they survive in water. Without contractile vacuole, they will die. They will just burst and they will die. Okay. Nearby waterfall and nearby river, you know, sometimes when we go to waterfall, we also stay at the shaded region, right? Because we don't like sunlight, we always stay at the shaded region. As we stay at the shaded region, we play water at the waterfall, right? You will accidentally drink the water. It means you also accidentally drink the amoeba species. Do they cause you any harm if you accidentally drink them? The answer is no. Okay, probably you're going to kill them more than they kill you, guys. Don't worry. If you go to waterfall and you drink the water, right, it's okay lah. You just drink them and then you just digest them. No taste one. Where got taste? Where got taste? How do you know? You don't even know what. You know what is the most disgusting thing? The disgusting thing is you go to the seaside. Sea even got more waste product of the animal. Then do you go to the sea? Of course, if you go to the sea, what? The amoeba will burst in your body. Yeah, it will be digested lah, actually. They will be digested in the body. Now that I caused a trauma in you, don't dare to go to the seaside anymore. I'm just telling you, just to tell you to accept the fact that everywhere is dirty, just that whether your stomach is big enough, is strong enough to kill the microorganism or not. Okay, but got one amoeba called brain-eating. They are amoeba eating amoeba because amoeba species, okay, what do they usually eat? Amoeba can eat bacteria. Usually they eat bacteria. They eat microorganism. They can eat amoeba species. They can also eat paramecium species. So they can eat this one. But paramecium species, they don't eat amoeba because, you know, when they extend, they cannot extend, right? Paramecium species is only by the mouth. So only amoeba, they can extend and they engulf the paramecium species. I will show you a video later how amoeba species eat paramecium species. So this page here, you have to know labeling part. You have to know about phagocytosis. You have to know about excretion. This is a common one they ask. So they also ask about contractile vacuole. They ask you what happens when contractile vacuole is not functioning well, then they will die like eventually. Okay, anyone has question on this page? Anybody has question on this page? Okay, I'm going to show you some video of amoeba species and also paramecium species so you can understand better of amoeba and paramecium species. Okay, let me show you. Okay, so you can look at this one over here. This is how amoeba species eat. It's by a process called phagocytosis. You can see that they are extending their hands. We call this as pseudopodium. This is the hand area, extending their hand. They will engulf the food. This is the bacteria, actually. The bacteria is over here. They will extend, and then they engulf. And then they form a food vacuole, but there's no enzyme over here. So the food vacuole has to fuse with lysosome. The lysozyme, they will digest the food. The nutrients, it will be absorbed, and then it will be left behind. So right now, this bacteria is trying to struggle, but too bad, too late already. They're not going to survive. They're just going to die because they're already engulfed by the amoeba species. So they die. Okay. And then the other one is how paramecium species move. You can see that they are actually turning. They are turning at one point over here. You can see they are turning. Okay. Now the turning point is actually, we call this as beating of cilia. You can see again, if you cannot see clearly, right? You can see there's a line here. Can you see that they're actually turning? Now the turning point is actually the beating of cilia. We call this as a spiral rotating lah. If you cannot see, never mind. This one's very clear already. You can see there's a cilia, beating of cilia, and then they will turn actually. They will turn when they move. So you can see they are turning. It's called beating of cilia. Sometimes they call it as spiral rotating. They will rotate as an axis. So they will keep on rotating. Okay, so this is how the paramecium species move. And this is a conjugation. We have mentioned conjugation means what? They will exchange nucleus at the oral groove. This is the oral groove. This is the oral groove. The anus can be anyway. The anus can be all over. I mean, it can be any part of the paramecium species. So this is the oral groove. So they will exchange nucleus, and then both of them also get baby. This one also get baby. This one also get baby. Both also get baby. And then you can see this is the contractile vacuole over here. This part. Can you see water diffuses into the maximum size, and then they will contract and expel water out. You can see. They contract and they expel water out. We call this as contractile vacuole. Water diffuses into it to a maximum size. They will contract and expel water out. You can see over here as well, this one. Okay, they will expand to the maximum size, and then they will contract and expel water out. We call this as osmoregulation. Every amoeba species and paramecium species, they need to have contractile vacuole because they need to carry out osmoregulation. Okay, so done with this one. Let's look at how they carry out binary fission. This is one amoeba. This is one paramecium species. You can see that they're trying to separate themselves, about to. And then let me fast forward for you to see this one over here. They're about to separate themselves. This one also same, about to separate themselves. Haven't end yet. Haven't separate yet after so long. About to, almost there, almost there. Okay, this area, they are still sticking together. Binary fission only occurs in a favorable condition. When there's enough of water, enough of food, when there is optimum sunlight, not too much of, because they don't like sunlight, they'll move away from sunlight actually. They will only carry out binary fission. When everything is good, the best, they can only split themselves. So eventually, can you see about that? They're about to split themselves up. Ta-da! Form into two paramecium species. The micronucleus will become the macronucleus of a new paramecium species when binary fission. The micronucleus, they will only use it during sexual reproduction actually. Only sexual reproduction, they will exchange the nucleus. Okay, next, this is also a conjugation of paramecium species, but we cannot really see that because they, you can only see that there are things moving around in the cytoplasm, but we cannot see clearly. This one is where amoeba species eats the paramecium species. This is a fast forward video, obviously. So you can see, that is a paramecium, that is the amoeba species. They are trying to consume the paramecium species. Now they form in a larger food vacuole. So they will secrete enzyme, and then you can see that they are struggling, but it's too bad. Of course they will struggle, right? No, if you got tied, of course you're gonna struggle also. If you got hold by somebody else, you're gonna struggle. This one you also struggle, and then it will be digested, and then they will die. Also, this is what happens when they are consumed. They consume paramecium species, so they can eat paramecium species. They will usually eat bacteria. Usually, like, they'll just eat bacteria in the waterfall or the river usually they'll just eat bacteria. Even your school longkang also can. Your school longkang should have amoeba also, paramecium also. But you have to take the water out and then you see from the microscope then only you will notice that whether they have amoeba or paramecium species or not. Can paramecium species eat amoeba? Because paramecium species, the oral group is not so big. They cannot consume so many things inside. So the paramecium species can only eat the smaller size. So usually paramecium species, they don't eat amoeba species because they can't. They can't eat amoeba species. So they will just eat bacteria. Does anything eat amoeba species? A bigger one. You as a human, you eat amoeba species. A bigger organism in the water, they will accidentally consume amoeba species because amoeba can't see with our eyes, right? So whatever living things in the sea, in the water, they will just eat the amoeba species. Okay, let's look back to the notes, guys. Flip back to the notes. If you don't go to the seaside, seaside got no paramecium species one because seaside is too hypertonic. So seaside got no amoeba species one. Don't worry. Seaside is too salty for them to be alive. Wait. Okay, because we have no times. Okay, let me finish off the last part. If you cannot finish the question, it's okay. I will just give you the answer after that. So let's move to the next part, page 5 and page 6. So page 5, cell organization in multicellular organism. We have a sequence over here. It's called cell, tissue, organ, system, organism. What do we have to know from this sequence here? We have to know what is tissue, what is organ. They always ask you what is tissue. You have to say tissue is a similar cell that perform a specific function. Organ is different type of tissue. This is the question they always ask in exam. They ask you, what is the tissue? You're going to write, tissue is a group of similar cells. Organ is different type of tissue. Now, from a cell that forms into a tissue, they will undergo a process. We call this as cell differentiation, or we call this as cell specialization. Whichever one you want to write, also correct. They always ask in exam, you have to write, this is cell differentiation, that is cell specialization. Cell that forms into tissue. Tissue into organ, no more process because tissue into organ, they already have their specific function. Okay, now let's look at cell. We have so many cells over here. We have epithelial cell, red blood cell, white blood cell. Now we don't have to go through one by one because we will go through it at the tissue, organ system, organism. So straight away, we just go through at the tissue. Tissue, we have few types. The first one, we have epithelial tissue. What is epithelial tissue? Epithelial tissue is the outermost or the innermost. It can be outermost, it can be innermost. So this epithelial tissue, we have 5 different diagrams. If you notice in this diagram, the one that looks very similar, right, is actually number 2 and number 5. Can you see? Number 2 and number 5, it looks very similar, right? How do we want to differentiate number 2 and number 5? Number 2 has the hair-like structure, got hair over here. This is under number 2. Number 5 is empty, nothing on top. That is number 5. We're going to go through one by one. First, this layer by layer one, it can be found in the skin, mouth, or even esophagus. So what is the function of this epithelial tissue in the skin? They want to maintain our body temperature. What is your body temperature? What is your body temperature? Your body temperature is, correct, 37 degrees Celsius, right? They want to maintain your body temperature as 37 degrees Celsius. That's why you have epithelial tissue. Okay, now, next one, we have lining of trachea that consists of elongated with cilia. In the trachea, we have a thing called goblet cell. Goblet cell is to secrete mucus. Mucus is to trap dust particle. Everyone, we have mucus in the trachea itself. As you can see, we have these hair-like substances, right? The hair over here, right? The hair over here is actually the cilia. Because we have a dust particle, we have dust particle going into the trachea, right? So this hair-like structure, which is cilia, they have mucus on top. Mucus is the sticky substances. They will stick with the dust particle. They want to prevent the dust particle from entering to your lung. So that's why they will stick at your trachea. So how do we want to remove the dust particle from the trachea? We will do an action which is So we will do this, then we are able to remove the waste product out. And then the thing, okay, the phlegm, not the phlegm, it's the mucus. The mucus, it will enter to the stomach. So don't be like those people on the street, they will put on the floor. This is not a very good way to do it. But this also proves that they're trying to clear their throat. Because we don't want the dust particle from entering to the lung, so we will just swallow it. Can they ask what is the function of epithelial tissue? No, they will give you a diagram. And then based on diagram, you have to write the function. Okay, so this is the trachea. Next, we have one cell thick. This one cell thick, it can be found in the lung, body cavity, and blood vessel. Cavity means what? Cavity is an area, so usually it's lung. So when you see one cell thick, it has to be lung because lung alveolus is one cell thick, right? So they can carry out gases exchange more rapidly or efficiently. So this is one cell thick. Okay, and then we have kidney. So this kidney, it looks like a tube. Okay, this kidney duct, it looks like a tube. It looks like a tube. So this tube here is called kidney tubules. Tubules, it means tube. Tubules, it means tube. Okay, tubules, it means tube. So this lining of duct, which is the kidney tubule, is used to form urine. In our kidney, we have a lot of tubes. We have millions of tubes. This tube is used to form urine. Okay, so this kidney tubule. And then we have lining of small intestine. The small intestine is used to absorb nutrients and also digest food. Excuse me. Okay, so small intestine is used to absorb nutrients and also digest food. So this is epithelial tissue. Teacher claim mucus. No, I accidentally got choked by my own saliva. So I want to cough. Okay, so we have 5 different tissue over here. Every tissue have their function, but they have no names. So you have to recognize the diagram. If it's layer by layer, it's skin where they are able to maintain body temperature. If they have hair, it can be found in the trachea because they want to trap dust particle. If it's one cell thick, they can carry out gases exchange. If it's kidney tubule, they are able to form urine. If it's small intestine, they are able to digest and also absorb nutrients. This is epithelial tissue. Nerve tissue. What is the function of nerve tissue? Nerve tissue is very important. Why? Because nerve tissue is used to transmit nerve impulses. When you have lesser nerve tissue, your reaction is slower. So imagine one day, you play basketball. If your nerve tissue is low, is very little, right? Someone throw a ball to you, right? You have no time to dodge the ball. You're going to hit the ball. Your face is going to have the ball on your face, okay? So that's why nerve tissue is important, not just for reaction. For thinking skill also requires nerve tissue. Anything that you do in your life, you requires nerve tissue. The reason why you can walk, you can talk, you can type, you can watch, because you have nerve tissue. Old people, older generation, right? Their nerve tissue is lesser. So that's why when we talk to them, right, they have a buffer time. They have like maybe 3-second buffer time. They cannot answer you directly because their nerve tissue is lesser compared to you. So their reaction is lower compared to you as well. The function of nerve tissue is to control and coordinate body movement. What is coordinate? Coordinate, it means they are able to know the exact direction. For example, if I want to drink water, I will take the bottle up and put it into my mouth. This is a correct coordination. If I want to play basketball, I can play the ball and put it into the, I can pass to my friend. Okay, this is a correct coordination. When I know the exact direction, we call this as coordination. When I want to eat, I use a spoon, I put a spoon into my mouth. This is a correct coordination. People who have no coordination, they will tremble or they don't know how to walk straight, which is baby lah. No baby, they don't know how to walk straight because they have no coordination yet. So this is nerve tissue. Human only develop coordination after 5 years old, usually lah. So when you can see kids when they walk around, they were like not very clumsy when they walk, they just fall down. It's because they have no coordination. So this nerve tissue is important. In order for you to increase your speed of thinking or your knowledge or your thinking skill or reaction skill, everything is about nerve tissue. You cannot increase your nerve tissue. You can maintain the amount of nerve tissue at this age because you guys are already 16 years old. Maybe you can consume more vitamin B lah if you want to increase your nerve tissue. Vitamin B is good for your brain, at least. Okay. Muscle tissue. Muscle tissue is important because muscle tissue, they always ask in exam. We have 3 different muscle tissue. First is cardiac muscle. What is cardiac muscle? Cardiac means heart. Cardiac, it means heart. The nerve is called axon and dendron. But we haven't learned yet. It's called axon dendron. Okay, skeletal muscle is bone. Bone muscle. Smooth muscle, it can be found in the blood capillary, blood vessel, and also internal organ. Because by the way, if you want to learn, your nerve tissue, we have 3 neurons. We have the motor neuron, we have sensory neuron, and also relay neuron. The neurons has a label part. We have axon and we have dendrons. So they want to transmit nerve impulses from your dendron to the cell body and then to the axon. So they have a sequence for that. That one, you will learn it in detail in chapter 12. Okay, in chapter 12, you will learn that in detail. Okay, so back to this again. So cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle, and smooth muscle, they have different diagrams. We have to know how to recognize the diagram. First, if you look at the cardiac muscle, they have a H, they have a Y. Can you see they have a H and Y? The H and then Y. This one, connection point, we call this as cardiac muscle. If it's a skeletal muscle, it's stick by stick, like a stick. Okay, it's called skeletal muscle. It's like a stick. Smooth muscle looks like eye. Your eye looks like an eye. Okay, eye. Okay, so this is how we differentiate whether it's a cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle, or smooth muscle. Cardiac, it means heart. Skeletal muscle, it means stick by stick. Smooth, it means that it looks like an eye. So cardiac muscle, can you control your heartbeat, guys? Cannot. Do you think you can control your heartbeat? Of course you cannot, right? I mean, of course I also want to control, but you cannot control your heartbeat. It can only be affected, but it cannot be controlled. So if you want to control your heartbeat, there's no way. It will be affected by your daily activities. If you run, your heartbeat increases. If you are resting, your heartbeat remains the same. You cannot control your heartbeat. It can only be affected by your activities. So the function of cardiac muscle is to contract and relax. They want to pump blood to all parts of the body. That is the function of cardiac muscle. Skeletal muscle, can you control? Okay, now what is a skeletal muscle? The one that attached to your bone is a skeletal muscle. Your hands, your face, your leg. That one is called skeletal muscle. The part they are able to touch, we call this as skeletal muscle. They are voluntary action because we can control it. If you think that skeletal muscle cannot control, one day someone slap you on the face and they say, oh, sorry, I cannot control my hand. Will you believe that? They slap you on the face, they say, I cannot control my hand. Of course, cannot be lah. Nobody gonna believe, right? Exactly. So skeletal muscle is something that we can control. That's why they are voluntary muscle, things that we can control. I also slap back them and say the same thing. You can try next time. If someone slap you and say this kind of nonsense, then you can tell them yours is also involuntary. But I don't know what will happen next. Smooth muscle is in the blood vessel and also internal organs, right? Imagine your peristalsis means your digestion of food. Can you control how you want to digest your food or when you want to digest your food? Of course, cannot. It's not possible for you to control, right? If you can, don't need to eat anymore, guys. Today you eat, next week you won't eat again. Everybody gets skinny. Nice. Of course, we cannot, right? We cannot control when do we want to digest the food. That's why smooth muscle is involuntary muscle. So we have 3 different muscles: cardiac, skeletal, and smooth muscle. So these 3 muscles is important for you to recognize the diagram and also to write the function of it. It's a very common asked question. They ask you to identify and write the function. Now, connective tissue means what? Connect, it means they connect things together. What do they connect together? The first, we have bone. Bone, of course, connects our body part together because from your head to toe, we have bones, right? What is the function of bones besides connection? They will give us a body frame. It looks like a human. Without bone, we look like a jelly. So that's why bones give us protection. You can protect internal organs at the same time, they give us a body frame. Adipose tissue means what? Adipose, it means fats because adipose tissue is a tissue, fat is a cell. What is the function of fats? Everybody needs fats. Just that the amount of fats is more or less. Fats, we have many functions. Number 1, act as a heat insulator. When you have more fats, then you can store more heat. Number 2, they can act as a storage of energy. You can store glucose and convert into energy. A decent amount of fats is important to you. No one can live without fats. No matter how you train, your fats cannot be 0. Your fats, it's not possible to be 0. If it's 0, I don't know how you're going to survive. Nobody is 0. But you cannot have too much because if it's too much, it's not healthy as well. So this is insulated. And then we have loose connective tissue. What is a loose connective tissue? Loose connective tissue is to hold your organ in position. Imagine your kidney is at the back. Imagine your lung. Imagine there's no connection part. Loose connective tissue, they're going to hold your organ at the same place, which is, imagine kidney. I think kidney is the most easiest one that we can think of because surround kidney, there's nothing, right? So kidney, how do they want to hold them into place? Even when we turn when we sleep, why do they don't move? Because we have loose connective tissue. They're able to hold them onto place. Dead body have 0. Dead person don't have to think. Dead person don't feel cold one. Dead person don't need to have storage of energy. But dead person, dead bodies, they need to have certain amount of time. Only they will break down because the muscle and the fats, they will decompose. Eventually, they will just be nothing. It's nothing, okay? So next, we have fibrous connective tissue. Fibrous connective tissue, we have tendon and ligament. What is the function of tendon and ligament? Tendon is to connect bone to muscle. Ligament is bone to bone. If you want to feel where is your tendon, you put your finger at this area here. There's this rubber-like structure. That is actually your tendon. A lot of our body parts that you can bend, the area where you can bend, right? They also have tendon. Okay, here also got tendon. Everyone also got tendon. The one that you feel like a rubber, that's tendon. Any part of your body also got one. Ligament is between your bone and bone. So it's a bit hard for us to feel ligament because it's between the bone. So it's a bit hard for us to touch. Unless you're very skinny, then maybe you can. But tendon, we can touch. So there are connection between a bone to bone and also bone to muscle. Blood. How do we identify blood as a connective tissue? Is where we have 3 blood cells. Red blood cell, white blood cell, and platelets, they are under blood. Red blood cell, white blood cell, and platelets, they are under blood tissue. So we have to write 3. Red blood cell is to transport oxygen, white blood cell is to kill microorganisms, platelets is to help in blood clotting mechanism. You can only categorize as a connective tissue because from your head to your toe, every part of your body, we have blood. No blood, then it means it cannot be like, oh, this one got blood, this one got no blood. Cannot be, right? Every part, it has blood. So that's why they are connective tissue. Then for cartilage, right? Cartilage is the soft bones. When you eat chicken, drumstick, there is this white color thing on top of the drumstick. Have you guys ever noticed the white color thing on top of the drumstick? God, don't have? God, okay, no. That is actually the cartilage. Every human, we have cartilage as well. The bones outside the bones, right? Surround our bones, we also have cartilage. What is the function of cartilage? Because our bone movement, right, is not bone to bone. We don't rub like that. This will cause arthritis. So there's a space between them. So when they move, there's a space. It's to prevent arthritis. So we have a cartilage around our bone because to reduce friction. The other one is at our nose and also the ears. Ears and nose, they're also made of cartilage. You can feel it out. This area here is cartilage. This area here is also cartilage. So there are plastic surgery where they want their nose to be taller, higher, right? They will take the ear cartilage to fit at the nose. So at least this is a real one. So if it's a fake one, they put a filler onto the nose. So they can make a higher nose bridge over here. if it's a cartilage. So between our bones, it is cartilage or fibrous connective tissue. If it's between our bones, it will be, okay, cartilage. Okay, imagine this is bone and bone. Let me draw for you to see. This is bone. This is bone. Sorry, I draw a bit ugly. This area is the cartilage. This is the cartilage. Your ligament will be somewhere around here. This is the ligament. Okay, the ligament should be at the back side because we have a lot of muscle. We cannot feel there's any ligament. So the purple color one is the cartilage. The blue color one is the ligament. Okay, so this is cartilage. Yeah, not inside one, because at this area here, the red color area here, right, there's a fluid. So the fluid is also reduced friction. So it's not inside one. Inside got fluid. Okay, so, and that's the reason why when you crack your finger, you have sound, because of the fluid in between your bones. That is because of that. When you crack your finger, that is because of the fluid. Okay, now, next we will have the organ. We have skin, stomach, heart, we have brain, lungs, kidney. Nothing much to explain about organs because nothing much to talk about it. But system, we have a lot of different system over here. We have interhuman, muscular, blood, we have a lot. Now first, let's start with interhuman first. Interhuman means what? Interhuman, it means skin. It's called interhuman. So skin is the largest organ in your body. We call it as interhuman. So every part, okay, is the largest organ. Muscular system is muscle. Everyone, we have 8 packs. Everybody, we have 8 packs. Just that our 8 packs is shy, so that we have a fat that covering the muscle that we have. If you're very skinny, right, you should be able to see there's a line in your body. So this is the line that you can see. This is the line that you can, if you're very skinny, when you have lesser body fat, you can see there's lines. So skinny people, if you want to train 8 packs or 6 packs, it's even easier because you have lesser body fat. If you have a tummy, then maybe you need more effort to train your 6 packs or 8 packs. Everyone, we have 6 packs or 8 packs. So muscle feels like an overcooked chicken breast. The muscle of human over here, it feels like an overcooked chicken breast, actually. Like, dry, like a bit hard. That is how a muscle feels like. And then blood circulatory system, if you take out the blood vessel, which is the artery, vein, and capillary, right? They say they can go around the earth for 2.5 rounds. Your blood circulatory system. I tried before. You mean what? I tried before muscle. I tried to eat human muscle before. Are you trying to say this? Of course, no lah. I tried to feel human muscle before. There's a model in my university, like the university I attended to last time. So there's a real 1-to-1 size human, like as a real human. It's a dry human. So I touched the dry human. So it feels like when you feel, it feels like an overcooked chicken breast. Of course, I didn't eat human, guys. Do you think that I'm so crazy? No lah, because in my uni, we have a lot of cadavers and we have a lot of sample. That's why I feel before, okay? When you go to uni, when you go to a medical university, you will see a lot of real thing also. Okay, so yeah, it's a dead body. It's a guy. You can see he's 1-to-1 size. And you can see his face is a bit scary. If you want to describe it, like your eyeball, you can see that the person is looking towards you. And then you can see the muscle, you can see the tendon, ligament, you can see the bone also. It's a masterpiece by my professor. My professor did that. Okay, so blood circulatory system, you can see that there's a lot of, okay, if you take the blood circulatory system out, right, it looks like a cotton candy. It looks like a cotton candy, okay, like a cotton candy. So yeah, then we have skeletal system. Skeletal, it means bone. In our human body, in total, we have 206 bones. 206 bones are 206 bones. You don't even know whether you have 206 or not because you never checked before, right? It doesn't matter we have one more lesser or one more or one lesser. It doesn't really matter. As long as you're a healthy human, you can carry out daily activities. It doesn't really matter. Boys and girls, both also we have 206. Boys don't have extra one. It's the same. It's 206 means 206. Doesn't mean that boys got extra one because my student always ask me, teacher, boy got one more. No, that's not a bone, guys, okay? 206, okay? You will only know that when you go for X-ray. Newborn baby, they have more bones compared to adult because newborn, they have about 230 something. So as they grow older, the bone will fuse together. They will form into 206 in the end of the day. So sometimes when you fuse too much, you have lesser bone. No? Sometimes the bone is not fused together, you have more bones, but it doesn't really matter as long as you can live your normal life. Okay, nervous system is nerve. If you look into it, it looks like a fish bone. This is the fish. It looks like a fish bone. I don't know why they think so. It looks like a fish bone, nervous system. And then we have lymphatic system. Lymphatic system, we have two important functions. Number one is to, they have white blood cell. They can carry out blood, they can provide immunity to our body. They can kill microorganisms. Lymphatic system, they have white blood cell, and they have the strongest white blood cell. The other function of lymphatic system is they are able to remove excess water out from the body. That is lymphatic system. When you have edema, water retention, lymphatic system is the one that causes you to have edema or water retention. Okay. Endocrine system is something to do with hormone. So we have male hormone, female hormone. It's about endocrine system. Digestive system is to digest food. And then we have respiratory system is to carry out gases exchange. Excretory system is to remove waste product out from the body. Reproductive system, male and female, I believe that you should know. All of this system over here is actually the one that you will learn in detail in the next few chapters, which is you have chapter 10, chapter 11, chapter 10, chapter 14, chapter 11, chapter 9 also got. So all of this is actually representing each one chapter each. Chapter 15, chapter 12, chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 9. So all of them, they are from different chapters. So you will learn very detailedly in each part. Adipose tissue is fats. Fats is adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is tissue, right? Fats is a fat cell. So they are fats. Okay. So after system, we have organism. Organism is a human. So when you join everything together, it's a human. So all of these things here, the most important one that you have to know about tissue meaning, organ meaning, cell differentiation, cell specialization, and muscle tissue. Of course, all of the tissue is important. All of the tissue is important, just that muscle tissue is the most important one. Done with human, let's look at plants. Plant is very easy. Same thing, cell, tissue, organ, system, organism. So we have to know about tissue. It's a similar cell. Organ is different type of tissue. And then cell, we have epidermal, xylem, phloem, gut cell. We'll talk about that later. Tissue, we have two different tissue. Meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Do you guys remember what does meristem means? Meristem means what? Meristem means young. Very good. Meristem, it means young plant cell, right? So young plant cell, they don't carry out cell differentiation. They do not have a specific function. So we call this as meristem, young plant cell, no specific function. For permanent tissue, they already undergone differentiation. They are mature tissue, they already undergone differentiation. So permanent tissue, we have three examples. The first one, we call this as epidermal tissue. Epidermal tissue. Epidermal tissue is the outermost layer, right? We have cuticle. Cuticle is the waxy layer. Waxy layer able to reduce excess water loss. Because they're outside, right? There's a lot of exposure towards sunlight, so they will reduce excess water loss. Now that's the reason why they have cuticle. Root hair. If you ever pluck a grass from the soil before, you will notice that the root is not only one. They have this tiny little hair at the side. That is what we call as root hair. It's a many, right? So many, we call this as increasing of surface area. Why do they want to increase surface area? Because the function of root hair is to absorb water and minerals. The function of root hair is to absorb water and minerals. That's why we have many of root hair. Gut cell is to control opening and closing of stomata during daytime or nighttime. That is epidermal, means the outermost layer of the cell is called epidermal. Vascular has only two things, which is xylem and phloem. Xylem looks like a straw. They are hollow like a straw. So xylem function is similar to a straw, where it's used to transport water and also mineral salt. Water and also mineral salt. Okay, this is the function of xylem. Phloem, we have to say, they transport organic substances. Don't write food, don't write glucose, write organic substances. You need to write organic substances. Don't write food, don't write glucose, organic substances. So if you write food and you write glucose, some teacher will not give you correct because phloem actually also transport enzymes, hormones, and also sucrose. So there are many things in the phloem. It's not just food. So write organic substances will be the best. Xylem, water, and mineral salt is always from the root. Phloem is from the leaves to all parts of plant because leaf is the one that carry out photosynthesis. So remember, xylem looks like a straw. Phloem looks like a bamboo, like they are section by section. So this is the phloem. And then we have ground tissue. Ground tissue ends with chyma. All of the ground tissue ends with chyma. It means that they have a similar function as all of them provide support. This one has support, support, and also support. Mechanical strength is also support. All of them, they have support. So parenchyma is the most important one because they have large cell or large vacuole thin cell wall. Can you see the vacuole is very big? The reason why they have large vacuole is because that they want to store sugar and starch. Where does the sugar and starch come from? By photosynthesis, because they are able to carry out photosynthesis. That's why they have sugar and starch, and they are stored inside the vacuole. That's why they have large vacuole. Collenchyma, they are taken by cellulose and pectin. Actually, we call this as hemicellulose. In Form 5, you will learn this. It's called hemicellulose. So hemicellulose and pectin is used to provide support as well. But they will provide support to who? The herbaceous plant. We call this as non-woody plant. It's called herbaceous plant, non-woody plant. And this hemicellulose, right, it will cause the corner to be thickened. They have a thickened corner at the side. So this is the cell, right? The corner over here, they are thickened. We call this as collenchyma. They are taken by the hemicellulose. For sclerenchyma tissue, they are taken by the lignin. Lignin, usually they are dead cell. Whenever you see lignin, they are dead cell in the end of the day. Like xylem, they are also dead cell because they are taken by lignin. So sclerenchyma tissue looks like a beehives. You know beehives? I look at beehives. So parenchyma, they have a thin cell wall, large vacuole. Collenchyma, they have the thickened cell wall at the side. Sclerenchyma, it looks like a beehives. This is how we differentiate parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. In exam, they will also ask you what is the differences between colon, parent, and sclerenchyma. And we have system. Organ, not important. Organ is just flower, leaf, and fruit. Okay. System, we have two systems, shoot system and root system. Shoot system and root system. Shoot has leaf and stem. Root system has only root system. So besides root, the rest will be under shoot system. Besides root, the rest will be shoot system. Yeah. And they form into organism. Same thing for plants. What is the important one? Of course, it will be tissue. Tissue is the one that they always ask in exam. So no matter whether it's human tissue or plant tissue, you have to understand this is tissue. Okay, so we are done with chapter 2. The question, we have no time to do it. So the answer, either you get it in your GC, you will get it in your GC, no matter whether it's a normal GC or the seminar GC. Okay, any question, you can ask me. No question, I will see you guys. When I see you guys again, for my student, I will see you guys tomorrow, next week. Okay, any question, you can ask me. Okay, guys, we are done with chapter 2. Chapter 2 is important for your exam. Very, very important for your exam. Okay, so bye guys, see you guys. Bye bye, bye bye, bye guys, bye bye, bye bye, bye bye, bye bye, bye guys, bye bye.